Hey everyone. So this is the last week of 2022. Just wanted to come on here and give you guys a quick market update and what's going on. There's lots of crazy stuff in the news. There's lots of misinformation. There's fear mongering, all sorts of stuff going on, which, hey, negativity sells. It always has sold. It always will sell. So let's talk about what actually is going on in the market from somebody that's in it every single day in two different markets, one in the Midwest, one in Southeast Florida. So let's get into it. So everyone's saying that the crash is going to be like 2008, 2009. Some places are predicting a 20% crash in 1 year in home values, property values. I don't see that happening because even in 08, 09, the biggest year decline in the country as an average was, I think, like 8.9% or something like that. So real estate pricing moves really, really slow when it moves down, which in turn comes out to there's no way we can have a 20% price reduction unless some crazy black swan event happens in our economy, which could happen. But until that happens, no data suggests that we're going to have this crazy, crazy decline of 20% in the market. The problem right now is that even though interest rates have been up and real estate transactions have slowed down 40, 50% in some markets, pricing is still everything. And as soon as the buyer sees the value that has come to market value where they think that house, that property should be, they're buying no matter what. There's always somebody that needs to purchase any economy. Even 2008, 2009, 2010, homes were still selling, places were still trading, people were still moving, no matter what. But it comes down to the facts of, we're down 40, 50% of inventory in some markets. And, that's been getting home values are actually still going up overall in some markets, especially according to FHFA, which is the Federal Housing Administration that monitors, all the FHA loans and all that stuff. So what that does is when we're in a tight inventory market, the demand is still there for the people that can afford to purchase properties, but there's no supply. We don't have 3, 4, 5 years of supply like we did back in the foreclosure days, because a lot of people still have a ton of equity in their homes. And even though that most people don't know what to do with that equity or how to get out of that property if they do fall behind on payments, which if that's you, please reach out. There's lots of different ways to get out without having that hard hit on your credit as a foreclosure or a short sale. So if you can't afford your payments right now, you should not be in a foreclosure situation because you should have equity enough to sell that property and walk away from it, maybe with even some cash in your pocket. But with that being said, the last 6 weeks, interest rates have been moving down, which is great news for everybody that's been on the fence for purchasing. But just remember that as soon as interest rate hits the pivotal point where buyers believe that, hey, now is the time to buy, everybody's going to rush back in. Inventory is still going to be limited. So pricing may start increasing again in some markets where there's not a lot of inventory, where there's not a lot of places to purchase. And that, I think, is probably 5% in that range, as my opinion, to where people now see the value of, hey, 5% isn't so bad. Let's go out there and purchase property. And I think that might come beginning of 2024, depending on what our economy does, of course, depending on how the job losses are, how financial earnings are for big companies, especially after the holiday season. So we'll see how that plays out in the realm of things. But until then, we just have to ask ourselves, if we are in a financial position to purchase, right now you can get a lot of great deals. You can negotiate because there's not a lot of people out there purchasing. You can get, point buy downs, seller pay closing costs. You can negotiate a little bit off asking price. So there might be a lot of people in desperate situations right now where they need to sell and they have to sell, but there's just not a lot of buyers and their price might be high. So go out there and write some offers that might not make sense to you, but just submit them out and see what happens, because you never know what the seller is thinking at that time or how desperate they are, especially if they own the property for a long time, they have a ton of equity, and maybe they just would rather get out now than wait for the right market conditions to come around for them. So keep that in mind if you are out there shopping. But rates are going down. There might be more people entering the market to purchase, and inventory levels keep falling every single week because not a lot of people are putting their prices on the market. So, what does that mean for you? It means that we kind of are in a standstill of we don't know where the market's heading. We are at 4.08 million homes that have sold this year. The usual averages are 5, 6, 7, 8 million homes in the past couple of years in the United States as a whole. So if that keeps going, maybe if we get to 3.5, 3.8 million homes sold, which would be about 50, 60% lower than normal, that might create a market bottom. And then we should start seeing a slow rally again. But remember that if anything happens, black swan event in the economy, pricing will keep falling as it has from the highs. I think the highs reached June of 2022, May in some markets, and from then pricing has been coming down because you just don't have 8, 10, 20, 30, 40 offers anymore on properties. Days on market are getting longer, and buyers are picky on what they want because they have the option now. The ball is in kind of their court, even though most of the country by the numbers is saying that we're in a seller's market. But buyers do have the ball in their court right now, especially with these high interest rates. And the ones that can afford it are affording it and are getting great deals out there because they're going to be in it for the long game. And they're not betting on appreciation in the next year or two because that stuff is going to be over for a while. I think we're heading into a market where prices are going to come down a certain percentage and then we're just going to stay flat for 3 to 5 years in that price range. So if you're purchasing, remember that fast appreciation isn't going to happen. And then if we get into a economic cycle to where we need to banks start tightening and banks run out of money to lend and things along those sorts, that's going to create even more hiccups. But that's when creative financing comes in. If you do have to sell, there's lots of different options to sell your property if you're in a position to do that or if you need to do that. So with that being said, please reach out if you have any questions. Minnesota, Southeast Florida, from Miami and up, please don't hesitate to reach out. Every case is different. Every scenario is different. Every situation is different. So I'd love to give you the best advice after 10 plus years in the industry. I watch the markets every single day. I'm in the markets every single day. So I know what's going on in real life instead of using old data that, gets published on the news networks that's 2, 3 months old. So have an amazing day. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the new year.